This is the story of Bully, also known as Canis Canem edit. Let's begin. 15-year-old Jimmy Hopkins is being driven to Bullworth Academy by his mother and stepfather.
Okay, rich guy. I love it that you're twice as old as my grandfather and you're fat and bald.
That's enough! I've had it with you, you little brat!
The parents are ecstatic to drop off Jimmy at the front gates. He's then greeted by Miss Danvers, the head receptionist. She guides Jimmy to the gate and makes his way to the principal's office, Dr. Crabblesnitch.
You've done a lot of naughty things, haven't you? Vandalism, graffiti, bad language, violent conduct, disrespecting staff. Oh, I'm scared of you, Hopkins.
Come on, give me a break.
Crabblesnitch gives Jimmy some words of wisdom and a fair warning.
And boy, remember, you will have a clean nose. So keep it clean, or we'll clean it for you.
Jimmy is ordered by Miss Danvers to go to the boys' dorm to get dressed in his school uniform, but he's stopped by the entrance by some bullies and ends up beating up one of them. Suddenly, a bigger bully runs up to Jimmy and socks him in the jaw, but a teacher shows up, breaks up the fight, and berates Jimmy for not wearing his uniform.
Why are you not in your uniform, young man? Go change immediately!
Jimmy then meets Gary Smith, who offers to be his friend.
Listen to me, tough guy. You just arrived at the toughest school in the country, and I'm offering to be your friend. Trust me, in a place like this, you're gonna need friends.
After some doubt, Jimmy agrees and is shown around the dorm. Jimmy puts on his uniform and is met with Pete Kowalski, who's really friendly. Gary shows up and teases Pete, causing Jimmy to kick them both out of his room. Jimmy heads to the school building where Gary shows him around, teaching him the importance of locker lockpicking and helping a damsel in distress. In the cafeteria, Jimmy learns of the 4 cliques of the school.
Over there, we got the nerds. Of course, they're complete social outcasts. And those are the preps. They're all money and condescending attitudes.
Yeah, massively inbred and completely brainless.
Now over there are the greasers. They think they're tough. And last but not least, the jocks. These guys rule the school. Definitely avoid them.
Later on, Jimmy beats down more bullies and acquires a slingshot and helps out some of the nerds. He also meets a hobo behind the school who teaches Jimmy some special army fighting moves. After Halloween night, Jimmy meets Gary, who is antsy about showing Jimmy something incredible. He takes Jimmy to the basement of the school where they end up in the hole. Gary thinks Jimmy is talking behind his back.
What are you talking about?
Don't play innocent with me. You want to run this school? I want to run this school. Only one of us is gonna make it. And it's gonna be me!
He antagonizes Russell, the big bully from before, to fight Jimmy. Jimmy is eventually victorious, but really thought him and Gary were friends.
Friends? You and me. I've taken dumps that had more brains than you, friend.
Jimmy makes amends with Russell, making him an ally along with the rest of the bully clique.
Look, I never said anything about your mom or farmyard animals. There are a bunch of kids around this place who need a beating, and you're picking on the few who don't. So I want you to leave me and him alone.
Jimmy is talking with Crabblesnitch, who tells Jimmy something he's heard not too long ago.
And that you've been saying some entertaining things about me and some barnyard animals.
No, I never said that.
As he walks away, a preppy kid notices he's the one who beat up Russell and invites him to come to their gym in Old Bullworth Vale. Jimmy takes it to consideration.
Why don't you come down by our gym in Old Bullworth Vale? We should definitely hang out. Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about you.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
He eventually visits the gym and enters their boxing challenge for a cash reward. After winning, however, Jimmy is gypped but receives a different reward.
Tell you what, old chap, we'll give you that old abandoned beach house. Should be nice once you clean it up.
He then visits Tad and a couple of other preps upstairs, who want Jimmy to buy some eggs for a thrashing at Mr. Hattrick's house. Jimmy gets some eggs and meets them back at Tad's house, but Gary shows up and manipulates the preps to fight Jimmy, making them enemies.
You said Tad was probably a hermaphrodite with that much inbreeding.
A hermaphro what?
You said his mom was also legally his aunt and that he probably had webbed toes.
I don't. Well, just only on one foot.
Jimmy also befriends and goes on a date with the prep's girl, Pinky, and does a peculiar favor for the gym teacher, Mr. Burton. He then enters a bike race with Petey and wins. When he goes to pick up his trophy, some preppies tease Jimmy and a greaser, Ricky.
I love it when people know their place in life.
Well, your place in life is in my toilet, you trust fund turd.
Do you even have flushing toilets in your trailer?
The preps steal the trophy, but Jimmy and Ricky give chase and eventually beat up a bunch of preps, giving Jimmy his shiny trophy back. Jimmy then recruits Russell to aid him in egging Tad's house as a fitting revenge. He meets Pete at the pier where he asks for advice. Petey gives him an idea and heads for the gym.
Now what you gotta do is you gotta beat one of them publicly. You gotta prove to them you're better than their best man. Why don't you box that dumb jerk Biff?
He challenges Biff and rises as the victor, making Jimmy the new champion. Unfortunately, Derby, the prep leader, is disgusted with Biff and thinks Jimmy doesn't deserve his new title.
Gentlemen, are we going to let some gutter snipe come in and beat up our friend Biff?
No!
Then what are we going to do? Beat him back to the ghetto!
He has Preps fight Jimmy as he makes his way towards Darby. Jimmy beats Darby into submission, making him the boss over the Preppy's clique.
Who's the boss now, my waspy little friend? Answer the question.
You are...
Louder!
You are...
Good! That's right! Me! Now you girls, learn to play nice, you understand?
Jimmy gets his fuzzy socks and ugly sweater on to meet Johnny Vincent, the leader of the Greasers. Johnny suspects his girlfriend Lola is cheating on him and wants Jimmy to gather evidence. He takes photos of Lola and a fellow prep, Gord, kissing and holding hands. Johnny then makes a plan to bait Gord to the skate park, where him and other preps will be taken out.
Well, hello, Gord. Seems like you've been messing where you ought not.
No, cousins are legal. Oh, you mean Lola?
Yeah, my woman. Now you pay!
Darby then berates Jimmy for letting the Greasers beat up Gord, but Jimmy stands up for the Greasers.
That's because Gord was showing one of their girlfriends a good time. Some leader you turned out to be.
Darby thinks the Greasers should know their place and manipulates Jimmy to tag up the town they frequent. Jimmy is then looking for Johnny and stumbles across him and Lola in a couple spat. Johnny is upset that Jimmy came to Lola's house to look for him, but Lola tries to calm them both down, but then turns it into one being better than the other in a bike race.
So you could beat Jimmy in a race?
Definitely.
I heard he was pretty fast.
This little twerp? Give me a break.
Jimmy wins the race in Lola's heart. Unfortunately, Lola is shunned from the Greasers and needs Jimmy to infiltrate the tenements and get her belongings back. He comes across Lola later on and she informs him that there's to be a rumble between the Preps and the Greasers, with Lola as the prize.
Tad and all the rich kids are coming here to fight Johnny and his boys, all because of me.
Jimmy hunts down Johnny by beating up other Greasers.
You treacherous little snake! You think you're tough, huh? You're done, kid. Finished!
But Johnny won't go down easily and attempts to beat up Jimmy, but the cops send him running. Jimmy chases Johnny on a bike into the junkyard and beats him up with the help of Petey, making him the new leader of the Greasers.
I'm tougher than you, so maybe now you'll stop bullying everyone. You work for me now.
Man.
Jimmy and Petey are discussing Gary and what to do about him. Pete gets upset and walks away when he gets knocked down by Ted and another Jock. Jimmy and the Jocks exchange insults.
Go have some fun in the communal showers. Ooh, I just dropped my soap. Please pick it up for me. Losers.
When he figures out how to deal with them, he tries to recruit the nerds, but they won't help him since he's always putting them aside. Pete gives him some advice though.
Get to Ernest. He runs that clique with the rod of iron. You get him on your side, and you got the rest of them eating out of the palm of your hand.
Jimmy infiltrates the observatory and ensues in a fight with the leader, Ernest. Ernest admits defeat and Jimmy wants them to be allies to take down the Jocks.
From now on, we're buddies.
You have a funny way of showing friendship.
We're friends. We work together.
Ernest comes up with plans to undermine the Jocks as well as their cheerleader, Mandy. But maybe that one went too far and I'm pretty sure there's a crime there. Speaking of crimes, Jimmy also helps Miss Phillips to prepare for a date, which he thinks is him.
Is this legal?
Of course it's legal. Whatever can you mean?
But when he returns, it's revealed that she's to go on a date with Mr. Galloway, the alcoholic English teacher. The next day, Jimmy helps Mr. Galloway escape the mental institution where Mr. Hattrick got him taken away for drinking too much during the date. After stealing the mascot suit, Jimmy and the nurse prepare to sabotage the big game. Jimmy does this by gluing the benches, throwing marbles on the field, urinating in the sports drink cooler, and changing the text on the scoreboard. Ted and the Jocks start the game with Jimmy as the opposition.
Oh, it's that little squirt Hopkins.
Yeah, that's Squirt Hopkins.
You're dead, Hopkins.
Yeah, dead Hopkins.
Why don't you stop repeating everything he says and get on with it?
Jimmy is able to take down Jocks with explosive footballs and then sacks Ted in front of everybody, making him the king of the school.
Oh, you beat them all in front of everybody.
Thanks for your help, Petey.
Oh, this is gonna be great.
Now the king, Jimmy gets talked into spreading his rule across the whole town. He does this by tagging up City Hall, but when he returns, Pete informs him that the students are angry with Jimmy. When he went to City Hall, Gary spread rumors about Jimmy and caused conflict between the cliques.
I think Gary must be behind it, but trust me, everyone wants a fight.
Jimmy goes around the school to help out the cliques in an attempt to gain their support back, such as exterminating rats in the library.
Did you piss yourself again, Algie?
Ew.
No, I swear.
Algie.
I spilled soda on myself.
Extinguishing a fire in the gym.
My gym is up in flames! Look!
Damn, how'd that happen?
Busting Johnny Vincent out of the insane asylum.
Some of the local kids said they'd gotten together with Lola. I went a little crazy.
I can believe that.
And finding out who stole the Preps boxing trophies.
It was those townies.
Why? They don't have any problems with us.
Yeah, poor kids just love rich kids who act like stuck-up jerks, don't they?
He also gets Mr. Hattrick fired when he gets photos of him selling test answers to Preps. He then meets Zoe, a townie that got kicked out of Bullworth when she complained about Mr. Byrne flirting with her. She and Jimmy team up to get revenge on Mr. Byrne with a tumbling porta potty.
I'm gonna have to shower for days with bleach! Ah! This is worse than when I got hazed!
Jimmy and Zoe later go on a date, but she is still distant towards Jimmy since she thinks of him as a twerp.
I only date older men or junkies. They're so
romantic.
The next day, Jimmy wakes up to an announcement.
Hopkins to the office. We're very disappointed in you.
When he enters Dr. Crabblesnitch's office, Jimmy low-key insults him.
Now, I'm not one to give in to popular sentiment.
You can tell that by your clothes.
What?
I'm saying you dress great.
But Crabblesnitch thinks he should try his comedic talents elsewhere, and that someone snitched on him about City Hall.
Oh yeah? Then who squealed? Tell me that.
A commendable pupil did feel the need to tell me you were responsible for this outrage.
Gary Smith!
I tried to contact your mother, but she's still off on a cruise. Until I hear from her, I will have to let you stay here in your room. But you may not wear the school uniform or attend classes.
Gotta be kidding
You are
me.
leaving the academy to attend to your education elsewhere. Now get out!
Whatever, man.
Jimmy and Pete meet to discuss what they can do about Gary, and eventually think of a plan.
Okay, but if we're gonna take on those townies, we're gonna need a bunch of backup. Someone big who doesn't hate me yet.
Russell. He'll be at his house at Old Bullworth Vale.
Jimmy heads to Russell's house, and the pair travel to the townies' hideout, where Russell crashes through their gate. Cops show up and Russell flees, leaving Jimmy and Zoe to infiltrate the hideout to find the townie leader, Edgar. Jimmy enters the chem plant and faces off against Edgar, Star Wars style. Edgar admits that Gary was the one that manipulated him to help take over the school.
I bet he said the two of you would take over the school or some crap.
Hey, how'd you know?
Because he told me the same garbage. Didn't do me any good either. Come on. You're gonna help me make him pay for his lies.
Jimmy visits Zoe, where she informs Jimmy that the school is in complete mayhem. He then goes to find Russell at the Wonder Meats factory and escape the cops. They then meet Edgar and his friends in front of the school, and Jimmy explains the plan.
We go in there with threats and bribes until we get what we want. If all else fails, we beat the crap out of everyone. That's why I brought along backup.
Russell likes to hurt people for peace.
Cool. Then it's a plan.
After taking out the leaders of the 4 cliques,
Ernest, you nerd! What were you thinking?
Don't worry, boys. I'll deal with him.
You're getting really tiresome, Darby. Cut it out.
Get lost, Jimmy. You ain't nothing.
You're just asking for it. What the hell are you doing, Johnny? Why are you taking orders from Gary?
Shut up, Jimmy! You left us and everything went down the toilet!
Jimmy and Russell enter the school building with Edgar. He leaves to help everyone else calm down, but Jimmy gets his weapons taken by the prefects. Russell chases them off and an announcement is made.
Your attention, please! Jimmy is complete human trash!
Jimmy chases Gary to the roof and eventually up to the very top. Jimmy and Gary argue back and forth, but Gary lays the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Well, at least my mom doesn't make her living on her back!
You're dead!
Jimmy and Gary fight while continuing to fall through railings and platforms until they crash through Crabblesnitch's office. The principal is shown to be tied up by Gary and expels him. Jimmy unties Crabblesnitch and drags Gary out. Crabblesnitch thanks him, and even though Jimmy is rough around the edges, he's considered to be a diamond.
A diamond, boy! A diamond!
Jimmy does inform Crabblesnitch that he has some help from some friends, and also asks about the letter to his mother, leaving this story of Jimmy Hopkins, Bullworth Academy, and Bully to an end for now.
Now about that letter to my mother.
What letter?
Talks of Bully 2 have surfaced, but an official date has not been confirmed. But I do hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you have, then don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing for future videos. My name is Heathen, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.